Now, before I present all the information and all the receipts to verify the information I'm going to show you, let's first discuss what is a hurricane and how they're formed. That's a hurricane. Notice it's out in the middle of the ocean. How are they formed? Hurricanes being formed as tropical disturbances in areas of the ocean that are warmer with temperatures of at least 80 degrees Fahrenheit. These disturbances are because of low pressure caused by the warm sea. If the ocean temperature continues rising, a storm forms. The speed of the storm may vary, but when it reaches 38 miles, it becomes a tropical depression. The tropical depression gradually develops into a tropical storm and acquires a name when it reaches wind speeds of 39 miles an hour. When the storm sustains wind speeds of 74 miles an hour, it's declared a hurricane. Hurricanes produce a staggering amount of energy by absorbing the moist and warm ocean air and releasing it through condensation during thunderstorms. Hurricanes revolve around a calm, low-pressure center, or the eye, that can be 20 to 30 miles wide. The spinning part of the hurricane is known as the eye wall, and it's responsible for the strong winds and rain. This is a map, as you can see, and Asheville, North Carolina is at 2,200 plus feet above sea level. So it's up there. It's almost a half a mile above sea level. And it's also a 6-hour and 29-minute or 398-mile drive away from the ocean. I don't care what new science has to say. Science has shown that the reason we get hurricanes in Boston is because we're on the ocean. The reason Florida gets hurricanes in hurricane season is because they're surrounded by the ocean. The reason that Charlestown, Myrtle Beach, Wilmington, Norfolk, Philadelphia, New York sometimes experience hurricanes is because they're on the ocean. And as you can see, eastern Tennessee and western North Carolina are not near the ocean whatsoever at all. So, what am I saying here? Well, I'm going to say that this storm was steered and manipulated exactly like Hurricane Helene in 1958 was. Oddly enough, this storm attained hurricane strength on September 26, and conditions became increasingly favorable for a tropical cyclone development. And guess where it landed? Yeah, same thing, same time, except in this storm, the military was experimenting by dropping dry ice in this to see if they could anger or control or steer the storm in a certain way. Well, that was back in 1958, and let me explain something to you right now. Times have changed and technology has changed, and your government has been working on how to own the weather in 2025, 2 months, my entire life. And this is the entire playbook. I've been passing this playbook around for time immemorial, and people just don't seem to care. I'll leave links to it below, but the government absolutely, without a doubt, can control the weather because it is the biggest weapon, because it gives them plausible deniability, because climate change, another absolute hoax. This, my friends, is climate change. It's the government using the weather to do their dirty work. Let me explain. I started out on YouTube over 14 years ago, and what I was doing was simply pointing a camera at the sky and asking if anybody else noticed anything.
Good morning, YouTube. I'm in Boston, Massachusetts. Logan Airport is right over there. And here's a fella laying down quite a thick chemtrail right now. Look at that, huh? Good stuff. And the best part about today is right over Boston, there's actually 5 jets doing coordinated skywriting. And this big fella right here is going to fly right through their field. Right through it. The weird thing is the skywriting, you can barely see it. It just keeps dissipating. Unlike this stuff, it doesn't go anywhere. I mean, look at that. Can you actually see the airplane flying about the same height as the chemtrailers? See, whatever the skywriters were using, they probably should have used this stuff that whomever is using, because it lasts and lasts and lasts for hours.
So you get my point. I've been doing this a long time, and this is exactly how I started. I've been following every single solitary thing they've been doing, and they've been doing a lot. From Bill Gates wanting to dim the sun or spray in front of the sky, to dim out the sun to save us from climate change, to the hundreds of patents that go back to 1891 that talk about messing, controlling, and screwing with the weather. Now, these are the same guys that can't balance the national debt. They can't even say a speech. They can't even do a debate for president. But these guys have been at this for a long, long time, and they're going to dim the sun and save us all. Well, let me tell you a secret. They have been dimming the sun. They have been dimming the sun. It's no secret, but they fight back against us. And on the mainstream news, they tell you things like this is simply condensation from an airplane, etc., etc., etc. Well, sir, I beg to differ. So what I'm saying sounds like a great big conspiracy theory, but let me ask you something. Why is it that the government won't send National Guard in Tennessee to Tennessee, but they had no problem on the same day of the storm hitting, sending more than 700 soldiers over to Kuwait to get ready to help Israel? They have no problem sending $8 billion over to the Ukraine. They have no problem sending troops and never-ending money over to Israel. They have no problem sending money of yours anywhere except to you. And when you need help, they don't show up. And if you start helping each other, they start threatening to arrest you. Isn't that amazing? Isn't that utterly amazing? I got to tell you this. There won't be an election this year. I'm just putting that out there. There will not be an election. Some events will circumvent all of this. And I'm not the only one thinking that, because lawmakers, for whatever reason, decided 30 days before an election that they suddenly had to pass a 28th Amendment to the Constitution of the United States of America in case there was a mass casualty event that killed off half of Congress. And this would allow them, instead of having special elections like we've always done under the Constitution in the United States of America, they can just simply replace half of Congress on a whim with no voting, and it's none of your business. This isn't a conspiracy theory. These are just never-ending conspiracies. I thought when the pandemic showed up and so many theories were proven to be facts, people would get it by now. This is frighteningly real, and they're using this to completely and utterly decimate the United States of America. This has been around. What I'm showing you right now, owning the weather, using the weather as a weapon, has been around for a long, long time. And the only reason it wasn't so urgent is because they wanted to own it by 2025. Well, it would appear their task is accomplished. I got to give credit to TruthStream Media, because not only did they compile a lot of things and get this out to a lot of people like you're supposed to, but they also included a huge list of resources like the Citizens Emergency Resource Map, Facebook Missing People Group, because there are thousands of people missing and the news isn't even talking about it. There are no boots on the ground other than the boots on the ground of the people that live there, and they're literally having to fight the authorities to save their neighbor. Do you see what I'm saying? Do you see what I'm saying here? Donations can go to Samaritan's Purse, the United Cajun Navy, Grindstone Ministries, the Y'all Squad, the 118th, Operation Airdrop, and Mountain Mule Packer Ranch. If you send your money to the Red Cross, these people will never see it. If you send your money to FEMA, these people will never see it. When I went to West Virginia to help people in a very similar situation back in the day, we saw FEMA on the ground. We saw the Red Cross on the ground doing absolutely nothing. A few YouTubers with a couple of pickup trucks and some trailers did thousands of times more than those guys did the entire time. That's all I'm going to say.